Scottie Barnes' rookie max contract extension is kicking in this season, and it kicks in off the back of a pretty disappointing fourth year for the player, all things considered. But what should Raptors fans be expecting out of his fifth season? Let's get into it. This is Amateur Sports. It's a YouTube channel completely dedicated to giving you Toronto Raptors content. Drop a like if you enjoy. Subscribe for more content just like it. Scottie Barnes, again, the rookie max contract extension worth up to $270 million potentially. That is a lot of money for a player who kind of underwhelmed for the team in his fourth season on a team that very much underwhelmed going towards another tank. Now, they're hoping to be revitalized this season. They've added in Brandon Ingram. They're hoping to be a playoff team this season. But in order to be one of those playoff teams, Scottie Barnes is certainly going to have to step up his game at least a little bit. This is a player that is supposed to be the driving force of the team. This is supposed to be the centerpiece of the organization. And though he may not be the focal point, like the main player on offense in terms of scoring, he is one of the main men in those settings, and he's certainly the main man on this team. This is the leadership figure, I think, for the Raptors, even at his current age. So we do want to see some progression for the player. So far in his NBA career, the progression has not been linear. And we know success doesn't necessarily always have to be linear, and he has quite typically responded well. But before we go into what I think his stats are going to look like this season with my prediction, let's look at what he's done in the NBA so far in his first 4 seasons. So in his first year, we had that Rookie of the Year season, which was obviously very impressive. He was kind of supposed to be more of this raw project, but stepped out the gates again, won Rookie of the Year in a very good draft class, 15.3 points per game. 3.5 assists, which we know is going to grow very quickly. 7.5 rebounds, which he's hovered around throughout his career so far. And this is the highest his field goal percentage has been, 49.2. Part of that is his aggression, I think, in getting to the rim, but also part of that is the volume of twos compared to threes, because his three-point percentage was 30.1. We've seen it worse than that. But overall, like rookie season, obviously very good stepping stones for the player. And it kind of fell off a little bit as we got into his second season, kind of all of a sudden. We weren't really expecting a drop-off after the rookie season, and maybe not quite a drop-off, but it definitely was a plateau. It was an improvement. It was not an improvement. That's what you would certainly expect out of a second-year player. Kind of hung around similar when it came to the points per game. Got his rebounds up to 6.6, assists got him up to 4.8, but the field goal percentage dropped. That was a concern. The three-point percentage dropped. That was a concern. But then third season just absolutely exploded. This was his all-star season, 23-24, 19.9 points per game, just shot himself up, 8.2 rebounds, kept it around 6 assists, 6.1 assists. Field percentage, a little bit up to 47.5, but there was a higher volume of three-point shots, which led to an effective field percentage of 52.8, but this was his best season shooting threes, 34.1. Now, it always felt like that three-point percentage was a little bit unsustainable. Like, could Scottie Barnes really continue to hit threes at that much of a clip? Probably not, but could he keep it above 30%? Like, we certainly thought he was going to be able to do that, but year 4, it has to be said, was a bit of a regression. He regressed down to 19.3 points, 7.7 rebounds. Like, he was under 6 assists here at 5.8, and you can talk about surely some of the tanking being involved in that. But, I mean, this kind of downward slightly trend was happening before the Raptors had even committed to a tank. The field percentage, under 45% at 44.6. The three-point percentage plummets to 27.1, like just like the worst it's been. Like, this was not a season that was good enough for a player that had already been given a max contract. So certainly we need to see better this season, and I am definitely expecting better this season. And one of the reasons I think that he is going to improve for this season, it's not just because he has always typically bounced back from these adversity-ridden seasons where, he had a poor second year, then he bounced back really well in his third year, was an all-star. Then he had a poor fourth year. It doesn't necessarily mean he's all of a sudden going to bounce back, but he has typically responded well to adversity, again, with these seasons. And also, like, within game, he kind of needs that push. He kind of needs that drive and that motivation. And I think that that fourth season that we just saw from him is going to give him that motivation going into the fifth season. I am going to be extremely confident. Like, even with the contract kicking in, you kind of feel like a contract kicking in, you can sit back a little bit. I think there is a high degree of motivation for the player to really step up his game this season. I think he is tired of losing. I think he is tired of missing out on the playoffs. So I think that there is going to be a strong desire to really elevate his game and get this team into the playoffs. So let's start with the points that I feel like he's going to produce this season. Hasn't ever averaged actually 20 points per game. Did average the 19.9 again in his All-Star season. That kind of fell off late in the season. He got really close. I think that this season we are going to see finally Barnes get up to 20 points per game. And this might be a little bit of a surprise because you think, well, there's a lot of usage coming in for Brandon Ingram. I feel like the Brandon Ingram fit is a little bit clunky, but I think overall there's going to be a lot of distraction from the defense away from Scottie Barnes, more focus onto Brandon Ingram. So for that reason, I feel like with hopefully an elevation in motivation, aggression, and talent, I mean, with hopefully some development in the offseason, with a little bit more of the defense concerned elsewhere, I think we're going to see Barnes jump up a little bit in the points per game category. I'm not flying him too high in this. We're going to shoot just above 20 points per game at 20.4, but I feel like Barnes is certainly capable of getting to that mark this season and being a 20-point per game player, especially if the Raptors aren't tanking this season and he's going to be playing that high volume of minutes going late into the season. I feel like if that's the case, we certainly need to be seeing at least 20 points per game, and I feel like this is even a little bit conservative at 20.4 points per game. Now, we move into the rebound category where I do want to see Scottie Barnes play more and lean more into that help defense for sort of role. It just feels like the past two seasons, anytime Barnes has looked terrific on defense, it's because he's played in this sort of position as the help defense forward. It's like all of a sudden, wow, why is Scottie Barnes playing so well defensively as of late? Well, he's playing in a position that really suits his abilities as a defender. Hopefully, with Brandon Ingram coming into the fray, he's playing more as a small forward, and I do agree we're kind of light in the defensive categories on the wings if there is Barrett and Ingram on the floor together. But I think it's still worth it to have Barnes in these areas as a help defense for, which means he's going to be near the rim a little bit more often. Look, I'm not saying every single possession, every single game, because there are going to be matchups where you do want him on the perimeter. I just feel like he's better served in these areas. And if he is playing more so down low, that should elevate the rebound numbers. We're going to go back up above 8 rebounds per game to 8.2. I think that there's a bit more size on this team, and I think that there still will be a good amount of reps for Barnes on the perimeter. I'm just hoping for more down low, and I hope that gives him above 8 rebounds per game at 8.2 rebounds. Now, we'll jump into the assists. This is where I think Barnes can really start to thrive because he did not play with a player like Brandon Ingram last season. Like, you're taking Scottie Barnes from last season where we saw the 5.8 assists per game. The year before was 6.1 assists. Now we're giving him a very talented player next to him for this season. I know he's played with Pascal Siakam previously, but giving a very talented player next to him in Brandon Ingram, I think that there will be a little bit, not enough, but I think there will be a little bit more spacing for this Raptors team. I think it will give him a little bit more opportunity to get some assists. So I think we're going to jump this one up to 6.6 assists. Nothing crazy. We're not going to go above 7 here because I still think, you're not exactly playing with as many players who are going to just finish those plays. Brandon Ingram is going to get the ball. Sometimes he's going to work his game a little bit. But I think that we can see with a little bit of extra spacing, with a better team, with just the injection of Brandon Ingram, just pretty much the same team as last year, injected with Brandon Ingram, we should see an uptick in assists. I'm going almost 1 full assist more compared to last season to 6.6 assists. And the thing about these numbers here, before we get into the efficiency, the thing about these numbers is just like, these are so attainable for Scottie Barnes. I'm just kind of thinking as we're going through. These are so attainable. Like, these are not outrageous. These are not bold predictions. This is just like he can do this, man. If he's locked in, if he is working on his game, these are numbers that are easily attainable. And if they are, the Raptors are in a much better place, and Barnes certainly in a much better place as an individual. Now, we get into the efficiency here. Now, this is, I just talked about how realistic I'm being. This one's a little bit lofty in the field goal percentage. So, what I want to see this season out of Barnes, first of all, a much higher degree of aggression near the rim. getting better shots, not settling for mid-range, not settling for like turnaround hook, turnaround fades near the rim. Get to the rim. When he is aggressive, when he is determined to get to the rim, he is very difficult to stop, and he's very efficient in those areas. Now, we're going to have to see quite a considerable jump from the 44.6% that we saw from him last season. But I think we can trim down the three-point shooting, because like last season, there were games where like he was shooting 8 threes a game. That's not his game. Lower the threes, the amount of threes he's taking. That's going to upgrade the field goal percentage naturally. He's going to hopefully be more aggressive. Hopefully he's working on his touch around the rim. Hopefully there's more space for him with Brandon Ingram on the court. If he does, like we can get to 48.6. We can get to 48.6. We can get near 49%. I don't think we're going to get all the way up to 50%. I think he's good enough to do it. I don't think we're going to get there. But if we get into the mid 48s, I think that we're in a much better position for him, especially to average the numbers I'm suggesting for the points per game category. That is a significant tick up. And then we can go to the three-point percentage and say, like, I don't even think this is going to be that much better, but I think it will be better. I think he will take smarter shots here. I think it'll be less pull-up threes. I think more catch-and-shoot threes. That will lead to a better three-point percentage. I'm going to give him 31.2% shooting from three. That is not asking for the world. That is not asking for a lot. That is asking you to hit your open ones at a less than 1/3 of the percent of the time. Like, that is certainly attainable. And all these numbers, like, I know the field goal percentage is quite a bit of a hike compared to last season, but he's been close to that. He averaged more than that in his rookie season. He averaged close to that in his third season, but that's when he was taking a lot of threes. Field goal percentage, I mean, honestly, it's a little bit outdated because, like, you have to factor in the amount of threes compared to twos. But for the simplicity of this, let's just go with field goal percentage. All of these numbers here for Scottie Barnes, like, these are so attainable. And if he is able to achieve these numbers, then my goodness, he has put together a fantastic season, and it puts the Toronto Raptors in a much better place.